Good evening, everyone. Hopefully you're having a wonderful day so far. I got a good one for you today. It's question period, December 10th. But first off, I want to thank everybody who subscribed. We hit the 500 subscriber count that I was aiming for December, so you guys are awesome. So what we're going to do is Friday, we're going to live stream question period. So that'll be fun, and hope to see all you guys there. With no further ado, let's get into it.
Oral questions.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is weak and he's lost control. He's lost control of our borders, of our freedom, of finances, and he's also lost control of his ministers, indeed. We have learned that there is a squabble going on between the Minister for Finance, who wants a huge $40 billion deficit, and the Prime Minister, who wants a great deficit, a steroid-infused deficit that goes beyond $40 billion. Who's going to win this squabble, Mr. Speaker? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, when a government delivers dental care to seniors throughout the country, it's the Canadians who win. When the government delivers a tax break for Canadians over the next 2 months, Canadians win. When we are here to invest in food for children in schools, children and parents throughout Canada win. Canadians will not win when the Conservative leader votes against all these measures and refuses to help Canadians and only cares about his own future, not the future of Canadians. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. The Minister for Finance does not agree. She promised that deficits would not go beyond $40 billion. She stated that she was against the little Christmas electoral bauble to the tune of $6 billion. But the Prime Minister imposed this inflationist policy upon her. He admits that deficits fuel inflation, and that is the reason for which they have promised to keep deficits to $40 billion. Will he keep his promise? Yes or no? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the person in this room who is against helping Canadians is the Leader of the Opposition. He's voted against a tax break for Canadians. He voted against dental care, against food in schools, against investments in electric batteries, against investments that we are creating for clean energy and for more jobs in Canada. The Leader of the Opposition is against measures that actually help Canadians because all he cares about is himself. He doesn't care about Canadians.
Isn't it crazy how a $40 billion deficit is our benchmark right now? Remember the good old days when if a $30 billion deficit came out, everybody would just go mental. But now it's okay. Now it's like, we can just tack on another $6 billion onto it. I'm sure everything will be fine. COVID. This never happened before. And then inflation just went crazy and destroyed the country. It'll be fine.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
This weak Prime Minister has lost control of the borders, lost control of immigration, lost control of spending, debt, and inflation, and now he's lost control of his own cabinet. We've learned in the Globe and Mail today that his finance minister is having her people speak out against him. She wants a large deficit of $40 billion. He, on the other hand, wants an even larger deficit on steroids, bigger than $40 billion. We know that Canadians are going to lose from all this inflation, but which one of those two is going to win?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians lose when the Conservative leader votes against a dental plan for seniors. Canadians lose when he stands against a tax break for all Canadians over the next few months. Canadians lose when he blocks a school food program that's going to save parents $800 on groceries while putting more food in kids' bellies. Every single time the Leader of the Opposition gets up in this House, he stands against supports for Canadians, against growing the economy, against supporting a better future for all Canadians, because he's only in it for himself.
Well, in Trudeau's defense, he's probably already used to his ministers speaking out against him because, I mean, a large portion of his backbenchers have already spoken out against him, said how much they do not want him to be leader. And then you have Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Jolie, where in the New York Times, when she was visiting New York, she did a whole interview thing on how she's going to be the next leader in the Liberal Party. So I think Trudeau's probably quaking in his boots there. And now we have the Minister of Finance speaking out against him about that extra $6 billion he's going to spend to help us with the 2-month GST tax rebate. So if you get the provincial sales tax off of your purchases, that'll be awesome. But for people here in Alberta where we only pay the GST and that's only an extra 5%, I mean, unless you're buying a car or something, I mean, you're not really going to notice it on, I don't know, a bag of chips where it's probably going to be not even 5 cents.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, it's not clear that the Finance Minister is actually in it with him. She said, according to the Globe and Mail, the Prime Minister's office has given internal direction for an aggressive and possibly costly policy agenda that threatens to blow past spending targets she has already publicly stated for the government. She promised the deficit would be capped at $40 billion, acknowledging that if it went over, it would cause even more inflation. That means hungry Canadians lined up at food banks. So once again, will the government meet the minister's promise to keep the deficit under $40 billion?
Yes or no? The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, while we once again hear the Leader of the Opposition talking down Canada's economy, talking down Canadians, the Bank of Canada, it looks like it's going to be decreasing interest rates once again because inflation is back down within the target range. Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition is also perplexed because he doesn't let his own MPs speak out on anything that he doesn't stamp and approve. He has people follow them around with tape recorders so that they don't speak to media about anything that he doesn't pre-approve. That's not being Canadians' voices in this place, Mr. Speaker.
Trudeau, the people with tape recorders are called the media because Pierre wouldn't need people following them around with tape recorders because it's going to be in the news anyways. So that would be ridiculous. Let's get back to her.
You were doing so very well for the first number of questions in terms of members respecting that only one of their colleagues at a time had the floor. I'll ask members to please withhold their comments and let the one member speak and the one member answer. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, this Prime Minister has admitted that deficits drive inflation. His minister admitted the same thing. That's why she said the deficit would not go above $40 billion. That was her guardrail. They weren't going to smash into that guardrail. She's like a bus driver saying she's going to come just short of hitting that $40 billion guardrail, and then some crazy lunatic comes in, grabs the steering wheel, and jerks it sharp to the left through the guardrail. Does he realize there's 41 million Canadians that are going to go off the cliff in that bus?
Reminds me of the movie Speed. Watch that movie if you haven't watched it because it is awesome. Anyways.
Order. Order. take to get order in this place, the shorter question period in terms of the number of questions we'll have to ask. I ask for members, please exercise discipline. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, while the Leader of the Opposition continues to talk down Canadians and the Canadian economy and indeed Canada, let me once again put it on the record. Canada is the best country in the world. And we, as Canadians, are stepping up, got us through the pandemic. Canadians got us through the challenge of high inflation. Canadians will keep building a positive future for themselves by being there and showing up for each other. Unlike the Leader of the Opposition, who's voted against every measure that has been put on the table to support Canadians over the past years and continues to be in it only for himself.
I don't know if it's just me, but when I hear all of that coming out of Justin Trudeau's mouth, all I hear is Canadians are so resilient. We can smash them, we can crush them, we can take out all of their money, we can do whatever we want to them, and they'll still come back because they're so resilient, and they can just pull themselves up by their bootstraps and recover good as new. Be it inflation or no food or high grocery prices, Canadians are resilient enough to pull themselves up by their bootstraps and survive. You know, live off the land. That's what I hear when I hear Justin Trudeau talk about Canadians like that. It's just that mentality irritates me.
The Honourable Member for Baillieu-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, in the context of bullying and religious practices in schools, where people are asked to move to leave space for prayer, the Minister for Immigration says that the Premier of Quebec is always attacking Muslims. He keeps talking about the freedom of expression, but he seems to find it difficult to tell the difference between Notre Dame in Paris and a park in Montreal. What does the Prime Minister have to say about this? Is he for or against this kind of statement? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we will always defend individual rights and freedoms and the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, the right to believe and to express oneself is something that our government will always defend. Of course, we will continue to protect these rights throughout our country.
Don't make me laugh, Trudeau. We saw what you did to the truckers down in Ottawa when they're right at your front door. And you throw, let's just say, harsh words and extremely mean names at them. You don't meet up with them. You don't even talk to them. And you then enact the Emergencies Act to pretty much arrest them all. So that's how you deal with Canadians' Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And we all know it. And the world knows it. And that's why dictators like Xi Jinping laugh at you when you talk about democracy and freedom.
The Honourable Member for Baillieu-Chambly. For a bit more details, it's not a question of secularism versus one religion, but versus all religions. The vast majority of Muslims in Quebec are perfectly happy, integrated, and of course welcome in Quebec. The secularism of state institutions is there and is necessary for equality for all. Can the Prime Minister at least ask his minister to wait to see what the government of Quebec will do before he starts self-immolating in indignation? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, Quebecers, like all Canadians, cherish individual rights and freedoms, the freedom of expression, the freedom of belief and credence, the right and freedom to assemble. We have fundamental rights and freedoms that we will always defend. I understand that sometimes a community may be attacked, as we see sometimes with politics and policies throughout the country, but here the Liberal federal government will always defend individual freedoms.
The honourable member from Burnaby South.
Mr. Speaker, get this. The Conservatives bring in a tax cut for the richest CEOs corporations, costing Canadians $60 billion, but they vote against taking the GST off of home heating and diapers. And the Prime Minister sided with them. Why does the Prime Minister side with the Conservatives and big corporations against working people?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, we were equally puzzled when the Conservatives voted against a tax break for Canadians for the next few months. People are facing challenges right now, counting their pennies at the grocery store as they try to make ends meet. And this Parliament stepped up to deliver a tax break for all Canadians, but the Conservative leader forced his MPs to vote against a tax break for Canadians. So even though he wanders around the country talking about taxes, hanging out with certain questionable diagonal on folks, he continues to vote against the interests of Canadians.
Like I said, because we can't afford it. Now what the government could do, which would be a present to us all, would be a no carbon tax winter. Now that would be awesome. But, you know, they're never going to do that. And weird thing about the NDP now, he's talking about the Conservatives brought forward or tried to enact a bill that would give tax breaks to the account of $60 billion to rich people here in Canada, but they're not in power, so how could the Conservatives pass a motion when they're the opposition? That does not make a lick of sense. I know it seems like I'm talking gibberish here, but I'm trying to figure it out as we're going.
Alors, s'il vous plaît.
Order, please. Order. The Honourable Member for Burnaby South.
Dead. Here we go.
Mr. Speaker, make it make sense. The healthcare system is collapsing and the Prime Minister is sitting on his hands.
Colleagues, je peux pas
I can't quite hear what the Honourable Member is currently saying. Order, please. I ask the Honourable Member for Burnaby South to start his question again.
Prime Minister's excuses instead.
Make it make sense, Mr. Speaker. The healthcare system is collapsing and the Prime Minister is sitting on his hands. Currently, 7 times out of 10, François Legault encourages Quebecers to pay for their healthcare. Does the Prime Minister find this acceptable? If so, why? And why is he abandoning people? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we will always respect provincial jurisdictions. We have also invested $200 million. We will invest $200 billion over the next years in healthcare throughout the country to deliver a greater number of general physicians with stronger healthcare, better mental healthcare, and better support for our workers. We are working for the healthcare system. We are here to defend our public healthcare system, and we are here to work hand in hand with provinces who want to deliver for better healthcare for all.
The honourable member.
So we talked about this way back when the capital gains tax increase was put forth during the budget. The reason why we're projected to have a really, really terrible decrease in the amount of family physicians is because a lot of times what they do is they put all of their future savings for when they retire into their business and into things that gain capital, right? It de-incentivizes them to stay here in Canada, and they all just move to the States and become family physicians there. Plus, we have a terrible, terrible, terrible time when doctors from other countries come here because they want the Canadian dream, and then they have to go through school all over again. That's why our system is pretty much broken. Oh, and not to mention the extra, 2.5 million people you've added to Canada over the past couple of years. On a different point, when Jagmeet Singh put forth that question of Quebec charging people to go to family physicians and all of that, he didn't say why. And there might be this reason. So when I moved to Ontario, I did not have all of my medical documents updated to Ontario. So after the course of, I believe it's 3 months, nothing from your province carries over to the province you're moving to. So then you have to pay out of pocket for any medical thing you get at any clinic, right? So that could be a thing, and that could be something that the NDP is taking and then throwing at the Liberals. So we got to be aware of either non-citizens who don't have their medical card and people out of province moving to Quebec who haven't updated their medical information yet. That being said, I don't know Quebec's medical system. I've heard it's terrible. I'll do one more question and then end up for the day.
Member for Thornhill.
We know the Prime Minister has lost control of spending, and now we see he's lost control of his own minister. We have a finance minister who won't tell us what the deficit is, and a Prime Minister who doesn't think about monetary policy, and that seems like a match made in heaven. But then again, maybe not. The Globe and Mail reports that, quote, tensions have risen between the Prime Minister's office and the Finance Minister's department, saying that the current dynamic appears to be similar to what happened with Bill Morneau before he quit. The Prime Minister bullies females and he bullies finance ministers, and now he's bullying a female finance minister. How much longer is she going to put up with that?
Allowed, s'il vous plaît.
Order, please.
Members to take their seats. The honourable member from Lakeland, I'll ask her please to not take the floor unless recognized. The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we are united in working for Canada and Canadians.
Colleagues, the chair has stood up for longer than a minute, which would be one question. I'm going to ask members to control themselves. The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance from the top, please.
Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we are united in working hard for Canada and Canadians. And in fact, Mr. Speaker, the only would-be bullies in this House are directly opposite. But I am very comfortable standing up to them. I look forward, together with my colleagues, to tabling the Fall Economic Statement on Monday in this House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
And we all hope that's comedy gold like last week when you had the dial-up stare for about 5 seconds. Oh, I can't wait for that statement. I don't know what to say to that, to be completely honest. I mean, we just got notice of two cabinet ministers that are having squabbles with Justin Trudeau, and we know that a bunch of the backbenchers sent a notice to Justin Trudeau saying they don't want him as leader. So to say that there's no squabbles in the Liberal Party is sort of ridiculous. Anyways, let me know what you think down below. If you want me to make a video of the rest of question period, I'll get going on it. And what do you think about spending $40 billion for the fall economic statement and an extra $6 billion on the GST tax write-off for the next 2 months? Do you think it's worth it, or what should we do about it? Also, if we do get that $250 bill in April, or $250 check, what are you going to do with it? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you like to support the channel, I mean, there's a link to buy me a coffee down below. Everything goes right back to it. If you wanna, that would be awesome. If you don't, cool as well. And other than that, have a great day.